Bascom Hill on the campus of the University of Wisconsin in Madison stands opposite of the state capitol in Wisconsin on the other end of State Street. Bascom Hill was the location of the first of the first two buildings of that university. Now, the first building was called North Hall. And the second building, after what we can only believe was great and deep conversation, was named South Hall. The building name was not inspiring, but the class gift from 1955 was. That class placed a stone into the side of South Hall that says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8, verse 32. Now, that stone was placed during a time when most of us grew up believing in the reality of truth. We grew up believing that there were ultimate accuracies in life that we called truth. We knew that additional knowledge might change the truth as we knew it, but that would become the new truth. Discovery that led to a more accurate and updated truth was always welcome because we were hungry for the truth. Now, when it came to faith, we believed in the truth of God. We believed that God had established ideas, principles, and knowledge that were unchanging truth. And we were raised on those truths. And those truths included honesty is the best policy. Be kind. Education is important. Treat others the way we want to be treated. Share love because God is love. Always do your best because Jesus is our Christ, and Jesus is our best pathway to know and experience God. Now, in the past decade, truth has come into question. Postmodern truth, as it is called, says each of us has the intelligence and the right to decide what is true for us, because there is no such thing as an enduring objective truth. So what you decide is true, and no one has the right to confuse you with evidence or facts. Now, Jesus believed in the reality of truth. He believed in the reality of God's truth. He believed that truth was important, and his truth was found from studying the scriptures, discussing the meaning of those scriptures with other people, knowledgeable people of faith, and by listening to God's voice that he found in prayer, study, and discussion. Based on the truth that Jesus knew, he spoke truth to power. Now, power in Jesus' day came from the Roman Empire. Power came from the Jewish rulers who worked for Rome, and power came from the temple in Jerusalem. Jesus did not hesitate to speak truth to the people in places of power when truth needed to be heard. Now, Jesus knew that speaking truth to power was not popular. In fact, the prophets God chose to speak had not been at all popular with those in power. The prophets said things that those in power did not want to hear, and they did not want to believe. And as a result, there were no prophets that were really very popular. In fact, several were treated really badly. Just take a scan through the book of Jeremiah to find out how badly they could be treated. And that is exactly why Jesus told the crowd listening that day that they would find blessing and joy when people insulted, slandered, and libeled them. They would find blessings and joy when people punished them for following Jesus. And like the prophets before them, they would be rewarded by God. This last beatitude, can you believe we've gone through all the beatitudes? This last beatitude was the first one in which Jesus spoke directly to those who were listening when he said, "You will be blessed." Jesus was speaking directly to the people listening then, and he's speaking directly to us now. Because if we follow Jesus and speak truth to the powers in our world and in our lives today, it is likely that we will be insulted. It is likely that we will be mistreated. It's possible that we will even be persecuted. And if we've ever spoken truth to power, we may have already experienced that unpleasant reaction. But friends, we live in a time when truth needs to be spoken. The truth that needs to be spoken now is the same truth that Jesus spoke then. It's the same truth that the prophets spoke to power in their days. And that truth was that the marginalized, the poor, the hungry, the sick, the thirsty, the widow, the orphan, and immigrants are all children of God. And the way that we treat them is the way that we treat Jesus. Jesus lived by a truth that was meant to guide how we as individuals and we as society treat each other. In that Jesus believed that every person was created in the image and likeness of God, that each person was a reflection of God's presence in the world. The way we treat other people reveals how we really feel about God. And if we treat someone badly, if we ignore their needs, if we turn our backs on making our world fair and just, then we have decided to turn our backs on God. If we treat each person with kindness, with compassion, with mercy, with fairness, then we have decided to turn our face to God and bask in the truth of God as it's been revealed to us. COVID-19 has created a time of uncertainty. It's created a time of social and economic uncertainty. And social and economic uncertainty reveals how we really feel about other people. As individuals and as a nation today, we are making decisions about how we will use our resources to treat others, to care for others. Our resources of food, shelter, business, and health care. And how we use our resources to care for those who need care or for those who are providing care, and how we treat each other will reveal how we really feel about God. For when we let other people go wanting, we are letting someone created in the image and likeness of God go wanting. Decisions about using our resources to care for others right now are being made every day. And in some places, just heard on CNN this morning, and for those who don't like CNN, it's still the quote from some people who are working in the hospitals in New York City. They're close to rationing health care. And if New York is close to rationing health care, guess what, folks? It's not that long until it gets to the rest of us. This is a time when speaking truth to each other and when speaking truth to our elected representatives can make a difference in how we care for those who truly need our care. Because the way we treat other people, whether we know them by name or not, the way we treat other people, whether we think they are worthy or not, the way we treat other people, whether they are our neighbors, our close friends or not, the way we treat other people is the way that we are treating God. This is a time for followers of Jesus to declare that truth is real. Because the more we try to reshape the truth to fit our own needs, our own desires, and our own agendas, the more we will be engaged in dissembling and deceit. The more we try to convince ourselves our own self-serving truth is the only truth that matters, the more we are fooling ourselves and the more we are insulting God. And when we catch ourselves doing that, and who of us doesn't try to fool ourselves? Who of us doesn't look at our own actions and our own thoughts and think, well, that's not so bad? Who of us does not look at our attitudes in the present and the past and possibly in the future and think, well, that's okay. It makes sense in the moment. Who of us does not rationalize our own understanding of our truth and how we treat others based on what we believe are our own needs? And that moment, when we realize that we've been fooling ourselves, is the moment when we need to hear the truth. And we will find the truth in the Bible. In this interesting time, and it is an interesting time, I suggest that we read the Bible in one hand while either reading the news or listening to the news with our other hand. It's time to dig more deeply into the news and into our faith. Rather than watch only our favorite television news channels or listening to our only favorite radio news stations, I invite us to listen to and read or hear a broad spectrum of news. Let's research to learn who the experts really are, whose words are accurate, factual, and true. We can dig for the ultimate accurate facts. We can dig for the truth in our faith and in our world. Let's listen not just to my voice about the Bible. Let's do our own research. Let's do our own reading. Let's get our own books. Let's do our own listening and digging and decide what the truth is that Jesus is speaking to us, and then compare it to others. Are we in line, or have we kind of gone off the rails? Because when we know the truth, we are free to speak truth to those who have power. When we know the truth, we are called to speak the truth. When we are called to speak to those who have the power to care for the least, the lost, and the lonely, we have the power to speak the truth of Jesus and the prophets who went before him. We are called to speak to those who have power to care for the poor, the hungry, the thirsty, those in prison, those who are sick, and the immigrants. When we are called to speak truth to those who do not act as though all people are made in the image and the likeness of God, we are speaking as did Jesus and the prophets before him. Speaking truth to power is not easy, because there are some who simply do not want their version of reality and truth challenged either by God's truth or the truth of evidence and facts. When we speak truth to those who do not want to hear it, we'll probably be rejected. Let's think about our own selves. Those times when we've had pretty clear understandings of what is true, and then someone came along with more evidence. How did we react when somebody challenged our understanding of truth? My guess is not all that well, because none of us likes to change our basic understandings of truth. And we'll defend our truth even when we see evidence to the contrary, with all that we have, until one day we get to be by ourselves and say, oh, shucks, or whatever word we might say. Ah, shucks, I was wrong. I hate being wrong. Speaking truth to power, even when we're speaking to ourselves or listening to others, is not easy, because no one really wants to have their truth challenged. And when our truth is challenged, chances are we want to reject, insult, slander, or libel those who are telling it. No one wants to be persecuted. I can't think of anyone who has ever volunteered to be a prophet. But as followers of Jesus, we are called to speak difficult truths. It's hard. Yet speaking truth is rewarded, because truth allows our own souls to grow closer to God. Truth brings freedom from deception. Truth brings freedom from oppression. Truth brings us closer to God. Truth brings us closer to all the rewards that come when we follow Jesus and live the way he taught us to live. Truth sets us free. And speaking truth sets others free. We are called, friends, to be prophets in our own time and in our own place. And now is the time for followers of Jesus to speak the truth, because we and our world will be rewarded. Amen.
Amen.